Welcome to NeverTheLess podcast with Bidemi Mark-Mordi, a show dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you would learn how to discover your essence and live more powerfully.
Hello, welcome to the NeverTheLess show, a program for organic leaders and leaderpreneur. We've been having quite an amazing episode in the rehab series, and we've been talking about brokenness, and there's been some mind-blowing secrets and mysteries that Pastor Bidemi has shared in the course of this series. If you've missed any parts, it's a good thing for you to go back and check on them. I'm sure they'll bless you in no little way. We started off by explaining brokenness. We went on to talk about places where people find healing, and in the last episode, Pastor Bidemi showed us by the principles of God's word, that there's a difference between curing on one hand and then healing on the other hand. In this fourth and final episode this month, we'll be looking at the processes, to healing. Just to summarize this whole thing tight, or Pastor B, you will hear a voice shortly, but again, I think I'm already forgetting my name. So I'll tell you that my name is Victor Ogumbe, and Pastor B would be giving us a little summary. But how will you summarize, if you want to distill everything we've been saying in the last 3 episodes, especially for somebody who is just listening for the first time, what are maybe 3 things you think that is important to this healing process when it comes to brokenness?
Welcome everyone. This is NeverTheLess, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. And the first thing that I'd like to distill that I don't want us to forget is that every one of us has a broken part in us. So there's no stigma around brokenness.
No stigma.
Because if we know there's no stigma around brokenness, then the odds are that we will be a bit more vulnerable in telling people the truth that we are broken in certain areas.
I see.
Do you see that? So because of the 3 types of brokenness, innate, imposed, and intentional, all of us have innate brokenness.
True.
That imperfection in us that makes us wanting to be looking for God, searching for God. Then in the case of imposed brokenness, someone does not need to intentionally want to break you for imposed brokenness to happen. Sometimes you just have to be in the vicinity of brokenness for it to happen. The second thing I want to say to us is that if you are in doubt, ask. Because it is possible that you think you are healed, but you're still bleeding over everybody around you. So you may not know that you are bleeding over everybody around you because your coping mechanisms say you are healed. But how you do in certain situations just proves that you are not healed. So because of that, if you find yourself in those places, you should ask. So from time to time, we talked about reflective thinking at the beginning. From time to time, ask those around you and say, do I still do this?
I see.
Yes. Ask that question. It puts you out there. But better that you're corrected at home than you find yourself on the street having to take the correction that you shouldn't be taking. Do you see that?
I do.
So if you're in doubt, ask. The third one is that roots must be pulled out. Let's not window dress anything. You cannot window dress healing. Make sure you get to the root. And the reason why people don't go through these excavatory processes, where people get to the root of what it is that's causing their brokenness, is because it can be very uncomfortable and discomforting. I mean, you now begin to tell someone, a total stranger, this happened, that happened, that happened, that happened, I did this, I did that. So 80% of the time, we just want to sweep it under the carpet and not talk about them. We pretend they are not there. But just because, I say to people when I take them through soul wounds, I know the healing of soul wounds, I say to them, just because it is inactive does not mean that it is dead.
True.
Inactive is not the same as dead.
True.
And just because it is inactive does not mean you are healed from it. It's just waiting for another day so that something will feed it, and then the wickedness would rise again. So you must do the work of excavating. Answer the tough questions so that you can get to the root of what it is that has ailed you and has broken you.
Amazing. I mean, so Pastor B, it looks to me that from all we have said, then it means that healing is not a one-off thing.
Oh no.
Okay, so please, can you tell us a little more about that?
Healing is a process, and sometimes for a lifetime, it is a process. And because it's an ongoing process and is a process, the Bible says the path of the righteous as a shining light, shineth brighter and brighter unto a perfect day. We need to understand that just because you started this healing journey 3 years ago does not mean that in another 5 years you still don't have things to heal. Because again, remember that these things is triggers that bring them to the fore.
True.
So if there are triggers that bring them to the fore, then you need to, every time, sometimes I find myself dealing with something I thought I had been rehabilitated from many years ago. All that happens is either someone from my past or a trigger, that I thought I had overcome, especially when the situations or the circumstances are right. So a trigger, it may not have triggered me 2 years ago, but I find myself that, okay, so I've been wounded, albeit minor bruised. Let's not use the word wound.
Okay.
I've been bruised. It set the stage for the trigger to be effective again.
I see.
And especially for me, when this happens in a situation where I'm under pressure, I'm trying to get things done, I'm working, so I'm waking up early, I'm going to bed late. So I haven't had the time to sit down to go through that process of reflection. Because I'm not able to do that, what I find is that the trigger that wasn't effective 3 years ago can become can become effective in this season. It is for that reason that you have to keep healing and keep healing. I have a friend, I met him in 2018, and he was a drug addict before he found Christ. And I met him somewhere where he was serving as a volunteer in this Christian organization. Now, when his contract, I think that organization do not take one for more than 2 years.
Okay.
When his contract ended, and I'm bringing us to one fundamental thing that helps with healing. When his contract ended with this organization, he went to either Croatia or Cambodia or Argentina, somewhere like that. Because he said to me, I remember, because when he reached out and said, he's going to this place and they don't pay them, but that he wants to go and serve. And those ones are ready to take him for a protracted time. Okay. So he was willing to go. So he was soliciting for sponsorship to go. People that will help him, keep doing what he's doing there. And in the course of the conversation, he said to me that one of the best things that happened to him in his healing process is finding somewhere to serve. So this guy has distilled for himself what helps him to heal. It means that he has to consistently be serving. So he doesn't allow lapses or gaps in his time where he's not serving something or someone higher than himself. Do you understand it? So healing is ongoing. And because healing is ongoing, we have to, there's no need to feel bad. So, 3 years ago, I used to fly up the handle and get angry easily. And in the last 3 years, I haven't been doing that. But something else has changed in your life. Maybe, you now have a circumstance that is different from where you were 3 years ago, and you find the anger returning. You go back to God again. And, my own thing is, I know that there's nothing like I'm healed once and for all.
I see.
So what I do is every time I say, God, you know me. So let's just keep this healing door open. I don't need to get into a relapse before I know that I need your help. We need to recognize that the way God created us, I'll say it one more time, we're created to be dependent on Him. And that's the reason why, healing is ongoing. It's a process.
It's amazing that you've just highlighted this, and for me, I believe that a lot of persons are liberated, just hearing.
I pray so.
I'm sure they are just hearing these things, because it's more like some knowledge that you have, but when it is expounded like this, the Holy Spirit begins to show you even things that are not there. I'd ask another question, but when we get back from our break, we would begin to respond to that question. So I was going to ask that, since healing is ongoing, as it were, what are certain areas or certain, or is there a first step, a second step? I know that you don't like the step thing, but still, it's what people can easily relate to. So, but when we get back from this break, Pastor will begin to share on this. If you're planning to run away, please don't go away. Just stay, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you.
In a world filled with many fears and discouragement, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life is just simple. Do not worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi Mark-Mordi shares powerful insights and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, NeverTheLess. NeverTheLess is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of NeverTheLess and other books written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, like The Wisdom of the Seed, Honor, The Theology of Work, and so much more from a bookstore nearby, or call 080-905-63555, or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order. I guarantee you will make it. Nevertheless.
Welcome back. It's still the NeverTheLess show, a program for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. We have been talking about rehab, and basically it's the series where we discuss brokenness, and it's been some amazing time. Just before we went on break, I was asking Pastor B to point us, in the direction of what needs to be done as we begin this process of healing. You'd agree that that's a very important question. Pastor B, please.
Okay, so for instance, if you go to Alcoholics Anonymous and all of those places, they always begin with, do not deny that you're broken. Because a lot of us have many reasons why we're broken. So they become our excuses. And an excuse is not the same as acceptance. Do you see it? So, okay, it was because my father's aunt and his donkey fought. That's why I'm like this. You haven't quite agreed that, you can deal with it. Because if that is your excuse, what you have just said is, it's out of my hands. I can't deal with it. So number one, you need to not deny, and you need to be in the place of accepting. Accepting isn't culpability. Accepting actually is you saying, I now know what is wrong with me, and I have the power to deal with it.
I see.
Do you see that? So acceptance is critical. The other thing is definitions. We don't define our brokenness properly.
I see.
So someone will say, the thing that is doing me is because I'm angry. But you're not angry. Actually, you are disappointed.
So there are two different things.
There are two different things. That you are manifesting anger is born out of the fact that you are disappointed at a situation or at a person. So definitions are critical. So if you are asking me, if I had to put it in another way, learn your brokenness. Now you get up now, so learn it. Learn your brokenness. Do you get it? Learn your brokenness. Then when you find the source of healing, remain in the source of healing.
Remain in the source of healing.
A lot of us think that because we don't understand that brokenness is ongoing. Because we don't understand that healing is ongoing, we do this thing that's 3 months and then we run out. Something you've lived for 30 years, you honestly think 3 months is enough. Sometimes you think 3 years is enough. It's not so much that you don't have a life. It is that you know what makes for your healing. For instance, if it's a word, a kind of word that you hear over time that has helped you come out of that rut, why do you want to replace it with something else? Do you get it?
Yes.
Know what works for you. There are certain medications that don't work for me. There are certain foods that don't work for me. I didn't know people could be allergic to foods, but there are certain foods that I'm allergic to. I just wouldn't eat them. Do you understand that? So I can't now, because, we're at this party and everybody is eating it, I sit down, that's what I will eat. Know what works for you and stick with what works for you. Repeat the system of healing or the process. What was it that brought you to the place? Was it truth? Was it forgiveness? Was it the word? Whatever works for you, hold on to it. Because I said to you that we heal in different ways.
True. True.
So take the one that works for you. And I just told you of the gentleman for whom all of his healing is wrapped around service. So because of that, he doesn't leave gaps that he's not serving anybody. He visits his family for a very short while and he goes back off again. And the last time I checked, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, he's been 10 years sober.
Wow.
Do you get it? But he knows what works for him. Then stay away from your triggers. You can't be broken. If there is a brokenness that make you medicate with alcohol, for instance, and then maybe you've now gone through a healing spell, you have no reason going into the beer parlor to pull someone out. You are vulnerable. Just know that you are vulnerable. So you need to stay away from the things that can trigger you. And if I had this one last thing to say to you, it is never leave the presence of God.
Wow.
Never leave the presence of God. Never leave the presence of God. What happened with Samson was Samson had a brokenness. And Samson did not deal with it properly. The day everything began to disintegrate really was the day the Spirit of God left him.
True.
Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you have brokenness, it's not that you can't, if you look at Samson's life, brokenness and strength can go hand in hand. So there will be, because the strength is so dramatic, people did not even focus. They didn't see how broken Samson was. When we look at foxes and fixes, when you look at everything that Moses did, who will think that anger will be what will trip Moses? But these things are there. Most of the time, they are dormant on the inside of us, but they're there. And when the right circumstance or atmosphere comes, it triggers it and we find ourselves struggling. So once you know what it is, you can't let go of God's hand.
True.
Because if you let go of his hand, who's going to help you? In this day where psychiatrists are taking their own lives, who's to help us? So we need to hold on to God. We need to hold on to God. I know people will think, oh, this is just up in the air. Oh, no, it's not up in the air. The Bible says, taste and see. So you need to get into the trenches with me and see whether this doesn't work. It does work. It does work. It does work. And the church need not hide from brokenness anymore. Because brokenness can even manifest as sin, but brokenness is not sin.
True.
Do you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
The symptoms may become sinful, but brokenness in itself is not sin. And that's why we can have these conversations in the best churches in the world so that we can deal with them. Because brokenness and strength can go hand in hand. So once you find a strong person who is also broken, help them heal. Which brings me to the conversation about those of us who are around broken people. If we're around broken people, let's not be deceived and think that they are bad people. Brokenness does not make a person bad. Because every time they come to, you find that they would be like, oh my God, did I do this? If you take the account of the prodigal sons, I didn't say son, I said sons. The prodigal sons were grappling with brokenness. The older one didn't think he was enough. The younger one felt too constricted. So whether it was too much esteem or it was a lack of self-esteem, they had a brokenness. The Bible doesn't tell us what triggered it in them, but they both had it and it played out. The thing is that the Father is always waiting and the Father is always willing. So, come back home. Stop going to the drug houses. They can medicate you for all that they can, but they have no help for you. They can't heal you. They don't love you. If someone was not paying for your drugs, they would not be giving it to you. You can come back home. Even if you feel like God disappointed you, you can come to him, talk to him. He's your Father. And he's able to help you through this thing. Do you see that? So it's not that we are special. It's just that there is a Father that is so invested in us that will do anything, move mountains to ensure that we arrive where we need to go.
This psalm comes to my spirit, so I just talk about it. Talking about lifting up my eyes to the hills.
From whence cometh my help? My help comes from the Lord.
From God. So
yes.
Pastor B has said that's like a summary of all that Pastor B is saying,
yes.
particularly in this last episode, that
yes.
our help comes
from the Lord.
God, and there's
yes.
help for us all
of us,
even as we seek
yes.
healing. Pastor B, I'm sure you have a few
absolutely Church of Jesus Christ, we can no longer pretend that we don't have broken people amongst us. Even in our midst, we have people medicating with all kinds of esoteric drugs because it is difficult for them to see that I'm struggling. We need to do better in that we need to be the people for whom another person or people's struggles do not make us uncomfortable. Our Father is not uncomfortable with our own struggles. Why do we make people feel like their struggles make them, like people with horns on their head? We need to do better. We need to be embracing, because Jesus embraced these ones. If you think about it, the demoniac of Gadara,
yes.
He was broken, but Jesus went to him. It's for people like me that Jesus came.
True.
And because he embraced me, I'm sitting here and I'm saying, let's us all embrace others. Everyone has something that God has put in them that would be useful for our word. But when we start to have these mental health conversations, when we begin to have these brokenness conversations, when we begin to recognize that these things are real and that they are not fairy tales. If you'd like help again, or you know someone, your loved one who's struggling, and you'd like help for them, then you can send me an email, and the email address is bidemi@bidemimark-mordi.com. If you'd like to do a telephone call, send a message to 0809 056 3555. That's if you're in Nigeria. If you're not in Nigeria, it's +234 809 056 3555. I'll take that again, +234 809 056 3555. There is help for you. And God does not discriminate. We will not discriminate. If you feel broken, it is time to come home, because the potter is waiting to put you back together again. Thank you so much for joining us this month in the Rehab series. Victor, thank you. You did an excellent job, by the way. Thank you so much. God bless you. We'll see you next month with another insightful topic. And, we want you to be able to send your emails, send your text messages, just engage. And please don't forget to follow me on social media, Bidemi Mark-Mordi, on all handles, whether Twitter, whether Facebook, whether Instagram, whether YouTube. The handles are Bidemi Mark-Mordi. Thank you again. And if Jesus tarries, I'll see you next month. Remember, if you discover purpose, you will live powerful.
Thank you for listening to Nevertheless. For more information and resources, call 080-905-63-555 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimark-mordi.com. Don't forget, discovering your purpose helps you live more powerfully.